How you do anything is how you do everything. You bring the same you to everything. So if you know how to read unconscious patterns of energy, you can look at someone doing almost anything. And the energy patterns they show when they're doing that activity are the exact same energy patterns they apply for their money, for their relationships, for their health. That's why it's holographic.
Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Linda Lang.
Hi, this is Linda Lang from thoughtchange.com. If you enjoy our conversations, remember to subscribe, share with a friend. Today we are talking movement with healer Brent Phillips. Brent returns to talk about movement feedback holography. Welcome, Brent.
I'm excited to be here. This is great.
I always love to learn something new, and this is the first time I've heard of using movement to release blockages.
So it's called movement feedback holography. Now, this is a term I made up, but my mentor, my late mentor Carl, that I learned this from, he really liked it and he started using it. So that became the official name. And it involves physical movement of the body. That's the movement part, right? Combined with feedback from expert or trained practitioners on the energy patterns you're exhibiting with your movement. So that's the feedback. And the holography may be the most important thing. When I had my first movement session, this didn't make any sense to me. We'll skip the long drama, but the short drama is this. I was a software engineer, for those that don't know me. I was one of the world's biggest nerds. I got a whole bunch of degrees from MIT. I spent years at the Laboratory for Computer Science, and I am one of the people that created the modern internet. Though admittedly, I was a small cog in a big wheel, right? I was not the main guy, far from it, right? But I was there and had my life destroyed. And I probably would have died, except I found energy healing and spiritual work, and it literally saved my life. And I had become a healer, and I had been able to get past a lot of my chronic pain. I was able to get off disability, to start to make money, to start dating again, to start exercising, finally having a normal life. And it all blew up. And I ended up at the same time with the worst heartbreak of my life. And I had a criminal steal over $1 million from me and steal my identity and left me $840,000 in debt. So I had lost everything. I was bankrupt, and I was about to kill myself when I met Carl. And basically, in my first movement session, he had me rollerblade around the parking lot by Venice Beach in Los Angeles. And he videotaped me. He had his little camera, right? And then we did that for about 20 minutes. Then we went and sat in his truck, and he played the video, telling me all these things that were bad about my energy. Oh, Brent, you're so negative, and you don't trust the feminine, and you're out of relationship to your past, and all this stuff, right? And I was a little upset because no joke, I had paid this crazy old guy $500 to rollerblade in front of him and to be told your life is screwed up, right? And so my life coach had referred me to Carl. I went home, I chewed him out. Like, dude, this was the worst thing anyone's ever done to me, right? There's so many things I could have done with that $500. But no, some crazy old guy yelled at me. And what happened was crazy. I went from bankrupt to making more money than I ever had in my life. Within 6 weeks, I had $50,000 in my bank account. And I was like, oh my God, what happened? And so, long explanation, holography, right? What does holography have to do with this? It's this. How you do anything is how you do everything. Why is that? It's the same you, isn't it? You bring the same you to everything. So if you know how to read unconscious patterns of energy, you can look at someone doing almost anything. Driving a car, playing a video game, rollerblading, shaking their hands, walking a tightrope. We can go on and on, right? And the energy patterns they show when they're doing that activity are the exact same energy patterns they apply for their money, for their relationships, for their health. That's why it's holographic. Let's say I have a big picture of a Ferrari and I tear off a little corner that just has the tire. If it's a hologram, you don't see just the tire, you see the whole car in lower resolution. In other words, the whole image is retained within every pixel. But as you take away information, it gets fuzzier. But the whole picture is there. And that's how we work as humans. We are holographic mechanisms. If I watch you playing Pac-Man, what I'm seeing is a bit of your energy holographically. If I watch you shaking your hands or rollerblading, again, I'm seeing the real you holographically. And I mentioned the money because for most people, making more money is the most obvious downstream result. But it's not about money. Money is just a nice side effect, right? It's really, it's about presence. It's about being in your body, being connected to the flow of life, as opposed to disconnecting from it by using the mind. That we want to fully play this game of life. We need to be vulnerable. We need to be open. We need to take chances. We need to do all these things, which are very difficult when we're living from the head, right? The head's always worried what might happen, blah, 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 right? But it's movement feedback holography. You do movement with expert feedback, and because your movement holographically represents your entire life. And if we make a little change in your energy when you're shaking your hands or rollerblading, that same change applies full force to other things you do. But yes, it really did happen that I was broke and bankrupt and hopeless on the brink of suicide. And just so you know, I was a full-time energy healing practitioner for 5 years before this happened. So it's not like I was brand new to the New Age world. I had like 22 different certifications in, Reiki healing and pranic healing and Psyche and all these things I'd learned, right? I had worked with at least a couple thousand of my own clients. I had seen at least 100 miracles in my clients. So again, I was not brand new to this stuff, right? But this movement was so different. I didn't understand it at all.
So are you saying that, first of all, you look at someone and you see their movement, you can determine their subconscious blocks from their movement?
Yes,
If they just change their movement, does that release the block?
it usually makes it worse.
Interesting.
And in the book, Movement Feedback Holography, I go into a lot more detail of this is what a session looks like, and this is what we look for, and right, all that is in the book. But yes, that is exactly how it works. And it's amazing stuff because when I had this session with Carl and did the movement, I had done at least 100 New Agey kind of weekend seminars. I was a total seminar junkie for a while, right? Almost every weekend, if I wasn't teaching a seminar, I was going to someone else's, right? Yeah, that's fine. I got over it at a certain point. And everything I'd seen up to that point, I could put in a box. But when I saw Carl and this movement work, it made no sense. It was so different that it took me, and this is a big thing for this MIT graduate, it took me a year to figure out what was going on. And here's the crazy thing. When I explained it to Carl, he was so happy. He'd never understood what he was doing. I was the first person, and I met him when he was, what, 65, 66? I was the first person in his life that figured out what was happening. And if you'd like, I can give a quick tour of what I like to call the 3 generations of consciousness technology.
When you're looking at someone
Mhm.
and watching them move, are you seeing the energy
Yes,
of their body?
you're reading the energy, not so much the physical movement.
Okay.
And that's part of the training. A lot of people at first, all they say is the physical. Oh, the right hand is more to the left or left shoulder. That's okay, but that's not what we're after. We're after the energy pattern. Common ones would be get it off me. Some people look like they're on a bad acid trip and have bugs crawling all over them. They're trying to get them off, right? Other people are trying to get away from the world. You literally look like they're trying to get beamed up by Scotty, right? Some people are out of relationship to their past. And what that looks like is there's a void space behind their body. It's like there's a little black hole sucking in everything behind them. So that's the kind of thing we look for because that's the energy pattern. And when you can get accurate feedback on the energy you're putting out to the world, it shifts and changes effortlessly. It's magical. That's why I'll warn you, the absolute worst thing to do is to try to fix your movement. You just keep moving And as you shift your own energy, the movement naturally, effortlessly shifts to match it.
This particular technique or modality, if that's what you want to call it, you say that you can release hundreds or thousands of subconscious blocks at once.
Yep.
How does that work?
Let me answer that in the context of the 3 generations. I think it'll make a lot of sense to you.
Okay.
What I found is there's really 3 generations of technology. And this is enormously valuable to understand and map out the space we work in. The first generation of consciousness technology is kind of your old-fashioned positive thinking. Nowadays, we call it the law of attraction because of the success of The Secret, but it's been around for at least 100 years. This is Think and Grow Rich, right? This is Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie. Focus on the positive, make a vision board, join a mastermind, right? All the things you saw in The Secret. I generally don't spend a lot of time, effort teaching first gen stuff. I would say either watch The Secret or read Think and Grow Rich and you're all set. Doesn't take much, right? So the first generation is exciting. It's interesting. It's fun. It just doesn't work very well. There was a study done at a Canadian university that showed that less than 1% of people that do this typical law of attraction stuff feel they got any good result. It's like, that's bad, right? Less than 1%, that's not good. So a lot of people go to the positive thinking, spend a lot of money on the law of attraction, nothing happens, they go, it's bogus, and they move on, right?
Then they think this whole spiritual outlook is bogus.
Exactly. That was me in the 90s when my life first fell apart. Warrior positive thinking weekends, mantras, vision boards, didn't change anything other than I had some big charges on my credit card from these, mastermind weekends and such, right? So that leads us into the second generation. And this is where things get really interesting. So here's the difference. The second generation technologies have a way to directly work with the subconscious. That's a huge leap forward. So we have things like Psych K, emotion code, healing codes, etc. There's dozens, if not hundreds of modalities work on the idea. You use muscle testing or some kind of biofeedback to see where the blocks are. And then you have a chant or a process or tapping or a machine or a meditation that clears the energy. So many different versions of that. So what happens is when you start working with the subconscious, you start to see a lot higher level of success. It goes from 1% to 10, 20, 30, depending on how you want to measure it, right? It's kind of hard to put a firm number on it. And more characteristically, we start to see medical miracles occur frequently. So if you're doing this right and you're an energy healer, you should be seeing a regular stream of life-changing miracles. Maybe not every day, but regularly, right? If you're not, you need to do better. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying we have the technology. Let's max out your capability, right? So you start to see medical miracles. My arm was paralyzed by a surgery that led me to this whole mess. And I went to a healer. She used a second gen tech, instant healing, life-changing miracle. So absolutely worth learning and practicing. I think every single person that has any accountability and self-awareness should become a healer of some kind. Again, you don't have to learn my system. I'm not for everyone. I'm a little intense, right? I'm an engineer. I love elegance, beauty, simplicity, and truth. I'm not going to walk in with robes and crystals and light some incense. Some of those people are my best friends. I love to go to their seminars. And so the second gens are really fascinating because by working the subconscious, we can see some big breakthroughs, especially with physical, emotional health. That seems to be where they're best. They fail on a large scale with money and confidence in relationship, though. Not that you can't have success, but it's much less. And it wasn't until I found the third gem with Carl that I really found what I was looking for. The third generation is even more different from the second, and the second is from the first, right? You take basically life coaching or hypnosis and add in a subconscious piece like NLP or hypnosis or emotion coding, you got a second gen, right? The second to third is totally different because the third generation technologies, there's a movement aspect of action as well as a meditative stillness. There's both there. And you have to do them together. I didn't even talk about the meditative part and the movement because it's a little complicated. And as the client doing it, you may not even be aware of it at first, but there's a lot going on. When I tune the energy with brain frequency and the entrainment of the hemispheres, there's a whole lot to it. People go, oh, Brent, you just talk to people for an hour and charge them money. It's like, no, there's much more to it than that, right? It's very demanding and exhausting for me to do this. If all I did was just talk to you, I could charge less and do a lot more sessions. But the third gen is, it's not based on words or language. It's visual and symbolic, which is really important because at our deepest level, we don't use words and language. The other animals in our world, they're visual and symbolic, as we are at our core. So these really deep emotional issues you can't get to with language. It has to be visual symbolic. So it's a physical movement of the body combined with an energy meditation to entrain the brain with a spiritual study. In the East, they call it Vaita Vedanta. In the West, we call it non-duality or awakening. They all come together. And it's fascinating. It's very much like the Chinese system. There's three parts to it. There's the physical practice, the Tai Chi. There's the meditative practice, the meditation. And there's what they call the Qigong, or different versions of that, which is learning how to channel the energy through your body, and they work together. So what I found is a good third gen tech is exactly that. There's a part of spiritual study. What are you? What is God? How does it really work? Part of it is the meditative, learning to entrain your brain and nervous system into the right state. And part of it is physical movement, visual, symbolic imagery. You put them all together, the second, third gens together can do almost anything. The movement work with the quantum field meditation is the only thing that seems to work consistently with people for money. But again, it's not about money. It's about being present in your body, right? When we do movement, we almost never talk about money directly. Occasionally, almost never. It's just about being connected into the divine force, what we call the quantum field. And when you do that, the closest word we have to it in English is luck. The goal of it is to get you present in your body to be the real you, which may not line up with your idea of what you'd like to be. And that's a danger here. But when you're the real you, people react differently. The point is, find the real you, and you will be lucky. And of course, the big thing everyone wants is the money, the success, and that's great. That generally comes. As long as you're aware, almost all of it is little stuff, right? So that the story I like to tell that illustrates this so well is the first time I traveled with Carl, who taught me the move. He was leading a retreat in Boston, and we were sharing a flight. So we figured we'll take a cab to the airport, save a few bucks, right? So cab picked us up, dropped us off at the airport. We got in the security line, and I'm like, oh crap, we're going to miss our flight. It was all the way through the little stalls and like 3 blocks next to another terminal. I'd never seen a security line like that in my life, right? I was like, oh crap. And I'm like, we're going to miss the flight, blah, blah, blah. And Carl's like, Brent, relax. We haven't missed the flight yet. Let's see what happens. So he's just standing there, you know, humming a tune or something, right? And I'm freaking out. Oh God, we're going to have to change our flight, get in a hotel. We're going to miss the rental car. Oh, like all that, right? All the stress, worry. And less than 2-3 minutes later, this lady in a TSA uniform walks right up to Carl and says, excuse me, sir, if you'd like, I can take you and your party through the first class check-in. There's no line there. It was like, oh, that'd be great. Thank you. And so she walks us through the first class. 2 minutes later, we're through security. And I'm like, hey, Carl, how did you know her? That was awesome, man. I thought we were going to miss our flight. And Carl laughed. He goes, Brent, I've never seen her in my life, but things like this happen to me all the time. That's it. That's what happens. That's really why we do the movement, to get the consciousness in your body, to find the real you and connect to life. When you do that, you know, again, being a nerd is not great for dating, but if that's who you are and you own it, it's amazing how people will find you attractive. And that's what I want people to hear. I want to help you find the real you. We're covered up with layers of pain and mythology and coping mechanisms and all that, right? You talk to a good physical therapist, they'll tell you they spend 90% of their time not treating primary injuries, but unwinding compensations, right? So maybe you hurt your left knee in high school and that healed, but you've had back pain ever since. Well, your body shifted and compensated for the injury, right? And just never shifted back when it healed. That's us. We're full of all these crazy compensations in our energy and our presence. The trouble is, if you don't know how to get to the core and work with that presence through the movement, you're leaving a lot on the table. Again, the first, second gen is worth doing. Make your vision board, say your mantras, yes. Do your clearing, yes. But if you're ready for the next step, you might want to consider the movement. But it is weird. It's weird, it's intense, it's non-linear and non-logical.
Is this something you can actually use for yourself?
In the book, we get into more of the details. So those that are curious, check that out. But basically, there's two ways of using movement. One way is done with facilitators in a group to get feedback. That was like the skating session. That's how most people start. If you go through the full training with me, at some point, I'm going to reveal to you some of the secrets we keep in the back room, which is how to use movement on your own to get consciousness back in your body. But that's a little more advanced. Most people aren't ready for that at the gate, but that's where we're going. And over time, that is usually what makes the biggest difference. For most people, it takes 1 to 3 years to really fully find their true selves. So I can't promise it'll happen overnight. Some people get results overnight. I did. I went from bankrupt to 50 grand in the bank in 6, 8 weeks, something like that. When I had my first session with a healer, my arm was paralyzed. It went pop and instantly healed, right? So miracles do happen, but only when you're willing to stay in for the long run.
So what does intention have to do with this? In your conversation, specifically speaking to healers, you've said you need to do a better job if you're not getting results, let's
Right.
say.
Yeah.
But the client also has a big say in how
They do.
much results
That's
happen.
right. But what role does the practitioner have in determining what clients come to them? A big role. If your energy is off as a healer, you may be attracting clients who won't heal. But that's not on them as much as it's on you. And in the advanced training, when I train people to be professional healers, that's the kind of thing we get into. How much of the result is your stuff, their stuff, intention, attitude, subconscious? There's actually a whole process and formula for it. But at the end of the day, both parties have involvement. And I'm not being critical of healers. I'm totally psyched that you've done whatever you've done to get to wherever you're at, right? Yeah. It's like if I wanted my son to run marathons and he was only doing a mile, I'd still be happy about that. It's like, hey, you're running. That's awesome, right? Just know you can go more than a mile, right? When you're ready, let's go 26. Oh, that seems impossible. Right. That's what I'm saying. So I love it that everyone's out there learning this. Absolutely. Do the best you can. I'm just saying from what I've seen, the people that really know what they're doing, generally you should see consistent miracles. Not every day, maybe not every week. There'll be groups and then none for a while, just like anything, right? It's just funny how that works. But yes, there is another level of ability and skill that's out there that most people don't even know about. Things that we used to think were impossible. It's just technology, right?
We just set the bar higher, right?
That's right. Yeah. If you went back in time 300 years and asked them how long does it take to get across the Atlantic, they'd say 3 weeks on a fast ship if you're lucky. It was about the best they could do. Nowadays, we can do it in what? The Concorde does it in 3 hours. And I believe the space shuttle does it in like 6 minutes. Just technology, right? All the healers and all the work you're doing is freaking awesome. Keep it up, right? I'm just saying, if you're drawn to me and my style in this work, there's a whole nother level waiting for you that you probably didn't even think could exist. But what I tell everyone is don't believe anything just because I'm saying it. I want you to come have your own experience and see for yourself that what I'm saying is true. Because a lot of this I would not have believed either, and that's okay. Be an open-minded skeptic. You don't have to swallow it whole, but be willing to have your own experience. What if this does change your life? So yes, I think there is a place for faith in life. We just have to choose our spots carefully.
And so, Brent, for clarity's sake, when we're talking movement issues, you are not talking about frozen shoulder or
No,
knee problems.
no.
You might not even know that you have an issue with your movement.
Most of the time you don't. And I would say the only thing that contraindicates certain kinds of movement is a serious physical injury, right? If you have some really terrible back injury, I'm not going to put you on rollerblades. That's dangerous, right? I don't want you to get hurt worse. But no, this is mainly emotional, spiritual stuff, which of course down the line creates the physical. It creates the physical. But yes, it's movement, not exercise. Exercise is great. Everyone should exercise. This is different, right? It's like the difference between meditation and sleep. I used to say, why would I meditate? I lay motionless and silent for 8 hours every night. Isn't that enough? But meditation may look like sleep, but it's not. So movement may look like exercise, but it's not. It just looks similar.
This movement is actually a metaphor for the flow in your life, whether that
Yes,
flow is money, energy,
absolutely.
love.
That's the goal, is to get you connected to your real self and fill your body with consciousness. That is the flow state.
Yeah.
Most of the results going to be little stuff day to day. You add it all up, you get a big result. So I'd say for anybody that wants to learn more about the details of the movement and how it works, get the book. That's what it's for, right? For anyone that wants to just experience this for yourself, I would say come to my live Healathon webinar, which I do just a couple times a year. At the webinar, I'm going to talk a lot more about this, but also demonstrate it. We're going to demonstrate both the movement as well as the meditative entrainment that I'll do with everyone live in real time, as well as some block clearing and other second gen processes. So I would love for people, if you want to experience this, come to the webinar. If you want to learn the details, that's what the book is for. If you want to do both, even better, right? That's ideal. If you had to pick one, I'd say come to the webinar. Actually doing it is going to make a bigger impact on your life than just reading about it.
Does this actually work in group format?
The physical movement, yes and no. We generally have one person at a time moving, but people that have had the right training that know how to connect into the group's energy, everybody benefits. So it's a funny little technical aspect people don't talk about much. When I work using first, second gen tools, it's pretty much one-on-one. That's what works best.
Yeah.
But movement, I almost always do in groups. Why? When the whole group can connect together, hit that same frequency and brain synchronization, there's an effect that occurs like the flock of birds. You ever watch a flock of birds and wonder how they do it? It's energy, it's consciousness, it's that simple, right? When you hit that with the group, the whole group heals and changes together. So it doesn't matter who's in front of the camera shaking their hands or whatever. As long as the group is connected, we heal as one. And yes, but the meditative piece, the entrainment, that is easy to do directly in a group. And I'd say a third to half of the people that come to the live webinar see energy and auras with their open eyes for the first time in their life. It's one of the fun little things that happens when you do this training. You'll be able to see people's auras and see their past lives and their face change. And I'm talking literally with your eyes. This is not close your eyes and imagine it. No, this is open eyes seeing it happen. So that's a fun thing too. So yeah, if you want to learn more, get the book. If you want to experience it, come to the webinar and just hop over to awakeningdynamics.com. And there should be a big thing on top with a big arrow that says sign up here, right? It's free. Tell your friends.
Fantastic, Brent. Thank you so much for opening our minds to new possibilities.
Excited to be here. You know, this has made such a huge difference for me and so many of my students. I get a little overzealous sometimes because I really want to share this with the world, right?
And thank you for listening to this week's edition of Exploring the Mystical Side of Life. You will find all of our conversations on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Come visit me at thoughtchange.com, pick up your copy of Learning to Listen, and check out my page on alchemy from the inside out if it's time to bring a little magic into your life. That's it for this week. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.